What's up? I'm Lily. Revenge Crown brings you the stories that keep you hooked. If that sounds good, smash subscribe and let's go. Said, you might want to read something first. The air smelled like gardenias and champagne, sweet enough to choke on. Fairy lights twisted through the pergola beams above us, casting everything in soft gold. The band had just finished our first dance. My wife's hand was still warm in mine. Her family, her parents, her sister. Her grandmother sat at the table closest to ours, smiling the kind of smiles that cost nothing but meant everything. My father stood near the gift table, one hand on my brother's shoulder, the other gesturing toward the cream envelope with my wife's parents' handwriting on it.
He wasn't asking, he was announcing. For the cameras.
For the 70 guests scattered across the garden venue. For the performance. My mother sat beside him, wearing that rehearsed smile she'd perfected over decades, the one that looked like rearranging napkins into perfect triangles. Her perfume reached me even from 10 feet away, heavy and floral, impossible to breathe through without feeling like you were drowning in it. My brother, 26, still living at home, still waiting for the world to bend for him the way it always had, stood there in his rented tux, grinning like he'd just won something. I was the hinge that made it move. I always had been. When I was 11, my brother got the bigger bedroom because he was going through a growth spurt and needed space. I got the room that used to be storage, with one window that faced the neighbor's fence. When I was 16, I worked double shifts at the grocery store to buy my first car, a beat-up Honda, with a taped headlight. My brother got a 3-year-old Lexus for his 16th birthday because he needed something reliable for college visits. When I graduated high school with honors, we had cake in the kitchen. When my brother graduated with a 2.8 GPA, my parents threw a backyard party for 40 people. The pattern was so old it had worn grooves into me. I was the responsible one, the practical one, the one who figured it out. My brother was the dreamer, the creative spirit, the one who needed support to find himself. What they did and know. What they never bothered to ask was that I'd been finding myself just fine without them. I'd been working as a software developer for 6 years. Remote work, good salary, better benefits. I'd paid off my student loans in 3 years while living in a modest apartment, saving aggressively, building a life my family knew nothing about because they never asked what I did for work beyond something with computers. My wife knew. Sarah knew everything. We met at a coffee shop near my apartment 2 years ago. She was a middle school teacher, practical and warm, with a family that actually listened when you spoke. Her parents were both retired. Her father had been a high school principal, her mother a nurse. They weren't wealthy, but they were generous in the way that cost nothing, listening, trusting, handing you space to breathe. When we told them we were getting married, her father pulled us aside. "We want to give you something," he said. "Your mother and I have been setting aside money. It's not much, but it's enough for a down payment on a small house. You two have been renting long enough. It's time to build something that's yours, $28,000. Enough to get us into a modest starter home in a decent neighborhood. Enough to stop throwing money at rent. Enough to build equity, stability, a future." My family didn't know about the gift. They didn't know about my salary. They didn't know I'd been seeing a therapist for 18 months, untangling decades of being the emotional caretaker, the family resource, the problem solver who never got to have problems of his own. But I knew them. And 2 weeks before the wedding, sitting in my therapist's office, I'd said, "They're going to try something." Dr. Patel had looked at me with that steady, knowing expression. "What makes you think that?" "Because they always do. And this time, there's something visible. Something they can see and claim." She'd nodded slowly. "What do you want to do about it?" "I want to be prepared." My coworker Emma was a paralegal, studying for the bar at night while working our company's legal compliance team during the day. Over coffee in the break room, I'd explained the situation. She'd listened without interrupting, then said, "You're not being paranoid. You're being prepared." She helped me draft a notarized declaration. Simple, direct, legally sound. It stated that all wedding gifts given to me and Sarah were titled exclusively in our names and could not be transferred, claimed, or redistributed without our written consent. An additional clause specified that any attempt to circumvent this would trigger a legal review and forfeit any future inheritance from Sarah's family estate. Not that there was much, but the threat of losing something they assumed they'd have access to mattered. Sarah signed it without hesitation. We had it notarized. I kept it in a cream envelope, tucked inside my jacket pocket. Just in case. The reception was perfect until it wasn't. Sarah's vows had made me cry, the real kind of crying, not the polite, dabbing kind. The ceremony in the small garden chapel had been simple and beautiful. Her grandmother had played piano. Her sister had read a poem about building a home in someone else's laughter. My family had sat in the third row, dressed appropriately, behaving appropriately, performing appropriately. The reception started at 6. Cocktail hour under the fairy lights. Dinner at round tables with white linens and small arrangements of roses and eucalyptus. The banda quartet Sarah's parents knew from church played soft jazz while we ate. My mother had complimented Sarah's dress 3 times, each compliment identical, rehearsed. My father had shaken hands with Sarah's father, that firm grip that meant nothing. My brother had spent most of cocktail hour on his phone. It was during the toast that I felt it shift. Sarah's maid of honor, her best friend since middle school, gave a speech about found family and chosen love. My best man, a friend from college, told a story about the time I'd helped him move apartments in a snowstorm. Short, sweet, genuine. Then my father stood up. He hadn't told me he was giving a toast. He just stood, picked up his champagne flute, and waited until the room quieted. "I want to say something about my son," he started. His voice was warm, practiced, the tone he used at work events.
"He's always been the reliable one, the one who figures it out.
The one who doesn't need much." Sarah's hand found mine under the table. A small squeeze. "A question. Are you okay?" I nodded slightly. My father continued. "And I'm grateful he's found someone with such a generous family. Sarah's parents have been very kind to help these two get started with a down payment for their first home." A few people clapped politely. Sarah's parents smiled, modest, a little embarrassed by the public acknowledgement. My father kept talking. "In fact, I was just discussing with my younger son, many of you know him. He's trying to get his real estate business off the ground, and we think it makes sense for that down payment money to help him buy his first place instead. He needs it more right now. These two are young, they have steady jobs, they can rent a little longer while they save up themselves." The table went quiet. Not the whole reception, just our table. And the table next to us where Sarah's family sat. And the table beyond that where my college friends had gone silent, champagne flutes halfway to their mouths. My brother stood up from his seat 2 tables over, grinning, walking toward us. "Seriously, man, it's perfect timing. You two can keep renting that apartment for another year or 2. No big deal. But this would get me into a condo downtown, right in the market area. Perfect for my business." My mother dabbed at her eyes with a napkin, performing emotion. "We're so proud of both our boys. And family helps family." Sarah's grip on my hand tightened, not panicked. Just steady, waiting. I looked at my father, then at my brother. Then at my mother, who was smiling that smile. The one that had convinced teachers and neighbors and church members for 30 years that she was devoted and selfless. I smiled back, small, calm, dangerous. "That's interesting," I said. My voice didn't shake. "The down payment isn't actually yours to redistribute." My father's smile flickered. "Son, we're family. We make these decisions together." "No," I said. "We don't." Sarah reached into her clutch a small beaded bag that matched her dress, and pulled out the cream envelope. She set it on the table between us and my father. "You might want to read this before you finish that sentence," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried. The band had stopped playing. The fairy lights seemed dimmer suddenly, like even they were holding their breath. My father picked up the envelope, unfolded the paper inside. My mother leaned over his shoulder. My brother moved closer, reading over their heads. At first, confusion, furrowed brows. Then recognition, my mother's eyes widening slightly. Then color draining, inch by inch, from my father's face. "What is this?" my mother whispered. "It's a notarized declaration," I said. stating that all gifts given to me and Sarah at our wedding are titled exclusively in our names. They cannot be transferred, claimed, or redistributed without our written consent. My brother's grin had vanished. This is insane. You can. I can, I said, and I did. 2 weeks ago. My father's hand shook slightly, rustling the paper. This is paranoid. We're your family. You are, I agreed. Which is why I prepared for exactly this. Sarah's father was watching from the next table. So was her mother. So were 68 other guests, phones half raised, half hidden, recording or ready to record, or just bearing witness. My mother tried to salvage it. Honey, this is your wedding day. Let's not do this here. We can talk about this later, as a family. No, Sarah interrupted. Her voice was still quiet, still steady. You announced your plan to steal our down payment in front of 70 people. We're addressing it in front of 70 people. My brother's face had gone red. Steal? Jesus Christ, we're not stealing anything. We're family. Family shares. Help isn't theft, I said. And love isn't access. You want to share? Ask first, respect the answer. The silence stretched. Someone's phone chimed. Someone else coughed. The band's guitarist shifted his weight, making his stool creak. My father tried one more time. Son, you're being unreasonable. Your brother needs this. You two have good jobs. You can wait. I've been waiting my whole life, I said. I'm done. My mother's mascara had started to smudge. Not from crying. From blinking too fast, trying to maintain composure while her performance crumbled. We raised you better than this. You raised me to give everything and call it love, I said. I'm calling it what it is. Exploitation disguised as family. My brother slammed his hand on the table. This is bullshit. You've always been like this. Selfish. You got everything? I laughed. Once, dry and low. I got the storage room and the taped headlight car and the kitchen cake while you got the Lexus and the backyard party. I got double shifts while you got allowance. I got silence while you got validation. I didn't get everything. I earned everything. Sarah stood. I stood with her. Her hand slid into mine and I felt her thumb brush my wrist. A small question. Are you okay? I nodded. I think we're done here, Sarah said to my parents. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the reception if you can be respectful. But the down payment is ours. The house we buy will be ours. And if you try to circumvent this document, you'll be hearing from a lawyer. My mother opened her mouth. Closed it. Her eyes were scanning the room, all those phones. All those witnesses. All those people who'd just seen her mask slip. My father folded the paper carefully, his hands still shaking.
He handed it back to Sarah without looking at her. This is petty, he said quietly.
You'll regret this. I won't, I said. But you might. My brother stormed off first, shouldering past other guests, heading for the parking lot. My mother followed, heels clicking sharp against the stone path, her perfume trailing behind her like accusations. My father stood there another moment, staring at the floor, before finally walking away, his shoulders curved inward like a closing door. Sarah and I stood there, holding hands as the band slowly started playing again, something soft, something instrumental. The fairy lights flickered once, then steadied. Her father approached us carefully. You two okay? Sarah nodded. We're okay. Good, he said. Then, softer, I'm sorry you had to do that. I'm not, I said. And I meant it. We left the reception an hour later. Not because we had to, because we wanted to. Because we'd said what needed saying and the rest the cake, the dancing. The photographs felt less important than the silence between us in the car, driving toward the hotel where we'd spend our wedding night. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Then again, then again. I didn't look at it. Sarah drove. I watched the city lights blur past the window, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not victory. Not vindication, just space. Like someone had opened a window in a room I'd been trapped in since childhood. I think I just stopped apologizing, I said. Sarah glanced at me, then back at the road. For what? For existing, for wanting things. For having boundaries. She reached over, squeezed my knee once. Good. The week after the wedding was a cascade of consequences, each one more specific than the last. My phone, 40, 7 missed calls. My mother, 18 times. My father, 12. My brother, 9. Various aunts and cousins who'd heard different versions of what happened, 8 combined. I didn't answer any of them. Sarah's parents called once, just checking in. We heard your family left early. We wanted to make sure the down payment check cleared and you two are okay. It had cleared. We were okay. My brother sent a series of texts, escalating from pleading to angry to threatening. You ruined my chance. You've always been jealous of me. Mom's crying because of you. Dad says you're not welcome at holidays. Fine. Keep your stupid money. I'll make it without you. I blocked the number. My mother sent an email. Long, winding, full of phrases like this is on who we raised you to be and family forgives and your brother is struggling and you could have helped. She ended it with, I hope you can live with yourself. I could, easily. Extended family reached out cousins I actually liked. My father's sister who'd always been kind. We heard what happened, we're sorry. That wasn't okay. I thanked them, explained briefly, they understood. Some of them shared their own stories about family boundaries, about saying no, about being the one who finally drew a line. My mother tried calling Sarah directly. Sarah answered once, listened for 30 seconds, then said, I'm going to stop you there. What you tried to do at our wedding was theft? What you're doing now is harassment. Don't contact me or my husband again. Then she hung up. I fell a little more in love with her in that moment. A month later, Sarah and I closed on a house. Small, 3 bedrooms, quiet street, decent yard. Nothing fancy but ours. The down payment from her parents, every dollar of it went exactly where it was meant to go. Into equity, into foundation. Into building something that couldn't be claimed or redistributed or stolen by people who called it love. We painted the living room on a Saturday, radio playing, windows open, neither of us talking much, just working. Just building. My phone sat on the kitchen counter, face down. It hadn't rung in 2 weeks. For the first time, the silence didn't ache. It settled. Sarah came up behind me, wrapped her arms around my waist, pressed her forehead against my back. You okay? Yeah, I said, and I'd spent 30 years being the resource. The hinge, the one who made it work. I'd been trained to give and call it family. To absorb and accommodate and stay silent because peace was more important than truth. But peace built on silence isn't peace, it's pressure. And eventually pressure breaks things. I thought about my brother, still living at home, still waiting for opportunities to appear without effort. I thought about my parents, who'd spent decades crafting an image of family that required one person to constantly sacrifice so another could constantly receive. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel angry. I just felt free. Freedom doesn't roar, it whispers. It sounds like a phone that doesn't ring anymore. It looks like paint on your own walls. It feels like someone's arms around you who chose you, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Boundaries don't destroy families. They define them. They separate the people who love you from the people who love what you provide. They protect the relationships worth keeping and release the ones that only worked when you were small. My family had taught me to disappear. Sarah's family had taught me to exist. And existing taking up space, having needs, drawing lines, saying no wasn't selfish. It was survival. I set down the paintbrush, turned around, kissed my wife in the empty living room of the house that no one could claim but us. Yeah, I said again. I'm okay. If you've ever had to draw a line with someone who called it love, share your story below. You're not alone, and you don't owe anyone your peace.